rolling out past the county line. I got black coffee in my cup, the pedal to the floor in my beat up truck. Gonna get past them city lights where the moon shines bright as a neon light. Yeah, out here's a different way of life, running dogs in a swamp.
Guys, what you heard was just a quick snippet of some of Taylor Ryan's music, which is our special guest tonight. Taylor, we thank you for joining us tonight, man.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all having me.
We got a lot of questions we're going to ask you tonight. I hope you don't feel too under the gun here.
Nah, it's all good. Just friends talking around a round table.
That's right. Welcome, welcome.
I'm going to start with, how many songs do you have that's out, and where all are they played?
So they're all available anywhere you can stream music. Spotify, Apple are the big ones. And then there's some smaller ones I don't really know. I mean, there's obviously Amazon Prime and YouTube that people are using a lot nowadays. But total, I think it's 11 or 12. But I think it might be 12. If it's 12, it's probably because one of them was a single that was off of an album. And so I basically put out a couple EPs that were 5 to 6 songs a piece.
Awesome. I would have to say my absolute favorite song, and I ask you to play it every time I'm around you, is Life on a Rock.
Life on a Rock. That song it kind of got me, when you play guitar, I learned to play the guitar when I was about 8th grade. My dad's very musically talented, plays everything by ear. And I was like, he had an old guitar sitting in the corner, and he's left-handed. I'm right-handed when it comes to strumming and playing the guitar. And I was like, one night, it was just like, can you show me like the basic chords? He was like, yeah. And he's a terrible teacher. Not just because he doesn't have much patience and thinks you should just know how to do it.
Right.
But back then, like I'm 35, so there wasn't a whole lot of YouTube going on. We were LimeWiring it,
Right.
and crashing the family computer.
I remember that.
LimeWire was the best.
Yeah.
So I sat in in my bedroom next to my dad, and he showed me where to put my fingers for the 4 basic chords, like G, C, D, E minor. They're kind of the same, just one finger different. So 5 or 6 basic chords. And I kept up with it enough to know where to put my fingers, but I couldn't strum and sing and play. I was just busy, playing sports, baseball, football, basketball, track, just, whatever, just kind of like any, young Southern guy, just playing whatever sports you do, going to church on Sunday morning, night, and Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And when I got in college, I didn't want to play baseball anymore. Like, I could have done a couple walk-ons, had some walk-on tryouts, but I was like, I knew I was going to have to work full-time. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my time on baseball. I'm not big enough, and I don't have the desire to work out at 5 a.m. every day to go to the big leagues, even if I had a chance.
Right.
Like, I don't want that. I just
Right.
know I just want to have a life. I just want to be a normal American,
Yeah, that's right.
And so I got a little bored just working and going to school. And
Where was
so
this at? Where was your school?
I started out at Gordon in Barnesville, and then I moved over to Armstrong Atlantic, which is now Georgia Southern. Hail Southern.
Hail Southern, brother.
Grandfathered in down in Savannah. And it's their Savannah campus now, but back then it was Armstrong Atlantic, the Pirates. So Gordon, when I was at Gordon, I got bored and I just started YouTubing like how to play some of my favorite songs. Like I think one of the first songs I played was like, Kenny Chesney, George Strait, like they had the big hits.
There you go.
And I just wanted to play good enough to sit around a campfire or a back porch with my buddies.
Yeah.
Just kind of, not
That's
to
fun.
literally be the entertainment or anything, but just to be like, oh, we're having a good time drinking beers and,
For the ladies.
well, that. But I was married. So it was for the lady.
The lady.
Yeah.
There you go.
But so, yeah, I just kind of picked it up and never really thought I was I still don't, because I guess you're your own worst critic. Never thought I was like a great singer or anything. And the fact, whenever I started playing and singing, like people kind of enjoyed it. I just thought, well, we're just drunk around a fire, we're just hanging out, buddies. They're my friends. They're just glad it's something other than the radio.
Right.
You kind of progress as you learn more of the guitar and you get comfortable with it. You start writing songs, and it might be just, I probably have 5 or 6 that I'll never put out that were just spoofs off of Luke Bryan's Spring Break album,
Yeah.
And so when I really kind of after you go through that couple year phase of just writing dumb stuff, you kind of get into, all right, well, maybe I can write something.
Yeah.
That's like about life that,
Right.
that I live.
Which Life on a Rock is really like, that is a pretty specific song to a lot of people in this area.
It is.
You live that,
yeah.
which is where you got the idea from, right?
Exactly. I went to Squirrel Bluff one day. We'd floated the river a lot. Hadn't floated in a long time, that stretch, but it was before everybody had kids, so we had a lot more time and didn't have to be responsible. But yeah, we put in at Squirrel Bluff, floated down to 36, about 4 hours when you take a break, on
Good
the sandbar.
time.
It's a great time.
Absolutely.
And one of those floats, I got out. We loaded up the truck, went back home. I didn't drive, obviously.
Why?
Because if you listen to the song, you'll know that you're not floating too straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got home, sat down, sunburnt, buzzed, and I was just playing the guitar up. I mean, I just like to pick up the guitar when I'm bored now. So I just picked it up, strummed like the most basic 3 chords any country song could ever be written to.
GCD.
Yeah. And did it. I just wrote it, and it was just like about that day.
So, Taylor, you're going to give us a little preview of Life on a Rock.
Yeah.
Floating in that muddy water just does something to my soul. It takes me back to a special place without a care to call my own. I run up on a sandbar where everybody's gathered around. Pop a lid on a Yeti, yeah, we're gonna pass them around. And then we're gonna roll down the river with my favorite band's on. We'll pop a top, crank a tunes up, and then we're gonna sing it long. Having us a good old time, let the work week unwind. A small town way of life, just living in the summertime. It's life on the rock. Oh, now, baby, life on the rock. Yeah, just living on an old Flint rock.
Wow. Man, dude. That thing just gives
And
me
that,
chills.
my friends, is why he's my favorite.
Taylor Ryan, baby.
Taylor Ryan.
Thank you.
I mean, seriously, man, like, I love that. And it doesn't get any better than being able to relate to a song like that.
Right.
Especially
that-
around here.
Right. That experiences that.
Everybody knows
It hits
exactly
home.
what you're talking about.
It's on.
Yeah.
That was my first time hearing that song live. I can see the Brent and hear the Brent Cobb in it. It sounds like the digging holes. Oh, I ought to be working in a coal mine. I can hear it in
Neck
there.
deep in black lung soot. Neck deep in black lung soot. Swinging a pig off a mountainside. Halfway to China. Yeah, I think I would peek right in where the sun don't shine. She's better off alone. Yeah, I ought to be working in a coal mine. Lord knows I'm good at digging holes.
I ain't played that one in a long time, but yeah.
So good.
I love it. It's awesome.
So another song that's a really big hit, I would say, probably for especially around this area as well, is which our intro song here, "The Holy Southern Outdoors."
I love
What
that song.
There's a lot of key things that you said in there that tells me, okay, you're an outdoorsman. You like to hunt. You like to fish. That song, I guess, all stem from life experience as well, right?
Yeah. So I'm from Americus, Georgia, originally, and my family still lives down there. And my dad, he's from Lake City, Florida, and he moved up, in 89, 90, early 90s, somewhere in there, and was going to Georgia Southwestern. That's where he met Mom in Americus. And, in North Florida, they got like skinny deer.
I mean, skinny.
And his
dude.
dad was a dentist. They were always in this big hunting club. It was like the Florida Boys Club or something. I mean, it was like 10,000 acres, but it was mainly like turkey and duck, and just you kill a deer and you get like 10 pounds of meat off of it. You know, it's got like the chronic wasting disease. But so when he moved up here, he'd always wanted to hunt big deer. And so from the time I was probably 8 years old, well, that's the first time I remember shooting a gun, a 30-30 Marlin.
There you
Way
go.
too heavy for me. I missed. I did miss the first one. We were on the ground. But he joined a property, and he's still in it to this day. It's a Weyerhaeuser land in Andersonville. So it's part of the property. It started off as like about 2,500 acres. And the first, half of it, or not quite half of it, was in Sumter County, and the other half was in Macon County, which is a big buck county in Georgia. And he's killed some studs off there, but I was mainly like the meat freezer guy.
There you go.
Just whack some does. But so like to this day, I always take time around Thanksgiving to take off work and go back down and just hunt with my dad. Because we'll sit in the stand separately a couple days, but we kind of hunted them like turkeys. Like we would go, he'd find rubs and scrapes and all, and go down in a bottom, like a hardwood bottom, and we'd Indian crawl down in there, and set up, and then put on just a one act play, breaking limbs, stomping, grunting. You got your doe pee out, and that's my first buck. The first time I shot at a buck when I was about 8 or 9 years old, it was that. Like we did that, and he came. It was a small little like basket rack, 6 or 8. He came out there just ready to fight, boy. It was mid rut, and I threw that heavy 30-30 up and couldn't hold it straight and all that, and boom, just shot just out of excitement. But like to this day, that's what I love about deer hunting. Like that's why I will always go deer hunting, even on my own. It's because
that's right.
The times I built with my dad.
Yeah. Man, that's real deer hunting.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, that's as real as it gets.
Yeah.
Sound like it made you shake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm shaking right now talking about it. That's like 100 years ago.
I love it.
Holy Southern Outdoors was actually texted to me by a buddy, TJ Stanfield. And he said, hey, I've got a friend down here. He lives in I think around Byron, Georgia. And he said, I got a buddy that's got a hunting outfit, and they, take kids hunting and do this and that. They're starting a YouTube channel just to film kind of some hunts and get their name out there. And they do like charity hunts and all that. He was like, do you think you could write a song? And at that point, I had Life on a Rock and a couple of songs I knew I was never going to let anybody hear. And I said, yeah. Then I immediately regretted saying yeah. And so a few weeks later, he was like, how's it coming? And I was like, well, hadn't really done anything with it. He was like, that's all good. He's like, they're still in the works, getting everything, all their ducks in a row. So I'm from Americus, but I went to middle school and high school in Ellaville, and that's where Brent Cobb's from. And I've always loved Brent Cobb's music. He was a senior, I was a freshman, and you always kind of just support your hometown boy.
That's right.
So I was at that time he was getting his stuff to kind of popping off, and he was doing really, really good as a songwriter, and it's probably like my go-to, that style of music. And I was just listening to his stuff at that time. It was like I think it was called Providence Canyon album. It was had 30-06 and all that on it. And I was just kind of just fiddling around with playing his songs, and I messed up and put a different chord in. And it kind of just popped something off in my head. So I was like, oh, huh. So I immediately sat down. I was like, well, maybe this is something. So I played around, changed a few chords up, and created a sound that was, totally different. But it was inspired by just listening to his type of rhythm and vibe of music. And just so happened that the song Holy Southern Outdoors was the name of the YouTube channel that the guys were starting. And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of generic in a way, because, in the South, that's our church,
The Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're out there, there's no closer you can get to God than just being in the woods.
Amen.
Yeah. And, grew up in church and all that, but I mean, I think there's that's as close as you can get. It's just out there. I mean, that's how it was from the beginning of time, you know? So I just kind of threw that song together and just kind of, riding in the truck with my dad, thought about that, like to the hunting land, he's got coffee in his cup. I didn't have coffee at that time. Might have had a Yoo-hoo or something. But, just kind of like tried to put it all together, and that's just how the song came about.
What would you say your favorite song is that you've written, and does it hold a special place to you?
Yeah. It changes kind of over time up until this point. When my granddad passed away, I was the oldest grandchild, and I was a boy. And I mean, there's pictures of me when I was 3 or 4 years old, could walk good. He built houses, and I had a little Lowe's tool belt like that to hold the nails and stuff, and a little Bob the Builder hat and hammer. And I spent countless hours with my granddad, just riding dirt roads, going to jobs with him, fishing. I mean, his big thing was brim fishing. We'd go out catch 60, 70, 80 brim at a time in some farm pond. And when he passed away, I knew I wanted to write a song for him, but that was the hardest song I've ever written, just because I wanted it to be a certain way. I wanted to tell my life experiences, and I knew they would resonate with other people, because a lot of people grew up the same way with their granddad. They have a special, place in their heart for him.
That's right.
And I probably wrote 3 or 4 hooks and intros and this and that, and nothing was right. And then, it took me about 2 years.
I got you.
Or a little over. And once it came together on one day, it just all came together. And that song is called Pretty Good Folk, because I just remember we'd go, catch fish, and we'd stop by one of his friends' house from high school and just drop the fish off, if we weren't going to cook them. And they'd have a big fish fry. And we were always riding around to like different people's houses, and they were like, "Your granddad's, he's pretty good folk." And so that's kind of where the song came about.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And that really is an awesome song.
Yes, it is.
Appreciate it. And I think that'll be forever my favorite song, because it's kind of like, and the thing that messed me up was Riley Green put out Grandpa's Never Died during the time I was trying to write it. And I was like, how am I ever
Really
going to honor my granddad?
That's another good song.
With Riley Green out here singing this song about his granddad, And so it's kind of like you had to take a step back and be like, well, I definitely can't write it this way now, because I don't want to be a copycat. You don't ever want to try to copy somebody. You want to find inspiration from them. But
that's right.
Yeah, so whenever it came to me, and a lot of times when I write songs, they just pop up. It's like a magical moment. Like you don't expect it. It just happens.
It just comes to you.
And that one I had to like build it out on paper, and then it never came together. And I thought it would never come together. And then it finally did, just one day randomly.
Give us a little preview of Pretty Good Folk, Toe.
Looking back on them good old days, an old Ford truck and a red dirt road. Not much to see, just a rusty tailgate with a D off the 4 and a dent in the door. Days like those are what made me who I am. What I'd give to be right shotgun now with him. I'd be wild and free, hand out the window, riding around with my best friend. AC was busted, the windshield was cracked, but it picked up the country FM. It was simple times, simple days, a simple life, simple way. I guess you could say he was pretty good folk. Yeah, he's pretty good folk. Oh, he's pretty good folk.
Man,
That's awesome.
It's incredible.
it is. It's awesome.
What's been one of your most memorable performances that you've done? Also, your favorite performance?
You don't have to say it was our Christmas party you done for us.
Or this podcast.
Yeah.
This podcast.
Well, we're regulars at the Tipsy Daisy, but I feel like the best that performance wise that I've put on, and I felt like the crowd interaction was good, was we just this past year we got a new guitar player, lead guitar guy, Mr. Will Small. I can't play the guitar if I play it next to him. Like he can
And you play very well.
and he plays anything and everything you want. And it was like his third time playing with us, and we had this gig booked over at Trillith, the movie place over in Fayetteville.
Mhm.
And they had Sister Hazel was, the 90s band. They were the big act. They had like a couple different stages, and we were on one of the side stages. I went out there thinking like, all right, well, the band that went on before us was like a reggae band, and they were awesome. And I was like, well, we plays country. So like, and the lead guys pop and alt rock. It's like, are we going to fit in? And we got so many like just compliments, like from all kind of different people. Like everybody stayed at that place. They enjoyed it. And it was only like an hour set. So it wasn't like a hard set. But I guess the songs, I got together with my guys. We picked the songs out, tried to line them up to keep the energy high, low, this, that,
That's right.
And I think that like as a team unit of a band was probably like our best effort that we've put out.
That's awesome.
Did you ever try to pursue like going to Nashville and like putting your name out up there anywhere?
I've been to Nashville a handful of times. I try to go once or twice a year. I really try to go twice, but doing it down here, working full time is hard to get up there. But I know the first time I went up there to write, I pulled into town on a Sunday, because you write from like Monday to Wednesday because everybody gigs on the weekend. So the writers that's like your main writing days, from what I'd been told. So I get up there a Sunday evening, and I kind of, don't want to go out because I'm tired of driving, and I just want to be a recluse. And then again, I don't have food. I just have beer at my little Airbnb or whatever. So I looked up this little bar called The Local, and they break up every town in some kind of name around there. And it was about a couple mile walk from Broadway, but it was across the interstate is the little area I was staying in. And the bar was like less than a mile from my Airbnb. And I was like, okay, they got food, they got beer, they got live music. I'll just go. I walk in, like 10 people are in there. This guy turns around and goes, hey man, you're so-and-so. And he said somebody completely opposite of who I was. And I said, nope. He goes, I swear you look just like so. And I was like, I'm not him. And I was like, this is my first time in town, like to other, I've been here one other time, and that was like for a Vanderbilt game.
Yeah.
And I was strictly on Broadway. And he goes, dang, man, you got a doppelganger out there or something. I was like, yeah. He's like, so where you from? So we got to talking. And his name's John Goolsby. And he was a songwriter. He's from like the Midwest. I don't want to say exactly where he's from because I can't remember. It's like Kansas, Missouri, somewhere in there. And we just sat down and got talking. He said, hey, they got Busch Light on tap here. And I was like, heck yeah, buddy.
I'm talking
This is my
about.
kind of place. He was like, they got a good hot ham and cheese sandwich. I was like, that's all I'm looking for. Well, this little act comes up they call themselves Diamond Trio. And it's just 3 songwriters. And they do a lot of old country. And they kind of spoofed off of Diamond Rio.
I get you.
Well, got to meet them. They're buddies with him. He knows Brent Cobb. He's written with Brent Cobb. And I was like, this is my first night in town. I've met somebody that knows all these people,
That's awesome.
And a couple of the guys were signed as songwriters with publishers. And then probably the third or fourth time I went back, like the next year, the one guy that was playing, his name is Will Jones. He's opening up for, I think he was opening up for like Travis Tritt or somebody this year. He got signed within a year span. He got signed with Sony. I was like, man, like if I can see how people say you have to be in this town.
Right.
Especially if you're like personable and you can just meet people and talk to people. You never know kind of where you're going to end up. And so, yeah, I try to go back as much as I can, but just build a house. Daughter's playing 8U softball. I'm coaching. I work so I try to kind of just pick it out, like usually somewhere in April, June-ish, try to go up there for a few days and meet up with the people that I have met. And then I try to go back sometime in the fall, kind of before football season really kicks off.
There you go. Sounds like a family man trying to
Yeah, I mean,
trying to work
if
it in
I
there
had,
and still.
if I had to pick it, I like being a family man. I like being around my daughter and being involved in her life. And if I had to, like, if you said, all right, you can be Morgan Wallen or you can be the guy that writes the songs, I would rather be that, because the guy that writes the songs, because I can go to the grocery store and nobody knows who I am, but I'm getting big old checks in the mail.
Like Chris Stapleton before he was
Yeah,
big.
yeah. Chris Stapleton did it for a long time.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Every
you
time
write good
somebody
stuff.
comes out and says this is a song written by Chris Stapleton, I'm like, I've never known that, and now
Yeah.
he's the biggest thing out there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So what would be, if you're saying that you would not really want to be famous, but ultimately you would like to write songs?
Yeah.
I feel like I feel a little bit of you would love to perform on live big stages like that. But ultimately, what would you say your next step would be in your musical career?
That's kind of a thing too with songwriters, is you get the opportunity at these summer festivals to open up here and there and play the big stage. Not always, but you kind of get to keep your feet wet. And most of the time you're playing kind of a songwriter night at a bar. And there's several in Nashville that hold those. And I hadn't played one in Nashville, but they have a competition every year called Tennessee Songwriter Week. And I've played a couple of those. One was, so you got the listening room in Nashville. That's like it's kind of the up and coming, I don't want to say Bluebird because that's iconic, but it's kind of like where all of your, from Lady Antebellum to Florida Georgia Line, all that like the listening room was the big thing in Nashville. And at least to my understanding, and they opened up another place in Pigeon Forge. And I got selected to go there, and I played with 5 great songwriters. And you basically just sit up there, play one song each, and you have judges, and they say 2 people move on. And so they hold that in, I think, north, south, east, west region. And then so it's kind of like you break it down, Final 4, and then the last 2 people get to play at the Bluebird, which I didn't make it past that first round. And I did it another year in Chattanooga. But like just being a songwriter, you get to play in front of people because you're always kind of debuting your song. So, I mean, you kind of get that out of your system in a way. Now, I mean, playing in front of 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever, 10,000 people is way different. And that's where the summer gigs kind of come in, like your little Tortuga Festival and this and that. You kind of get to go to an island and play some little back bar and then maybe open up for your buddy that you wrote 5 hits for.
Mm-hmm.
But as for me, like the next step, I mean, I really kind of need to just figure out how to push my music more like towards publishers, I would say. And I think part of that comes just to being in Nashville and meeting people and having the right connections. Because, I mean, only so much can happen off of TikTok luck,
Right.
or YouTube luck or whatever, Spotify, your song goes viral. I mean, you can kind of hope and pray for that, but that's just kind of like, shooting at one dove and 100 blackbirds.
Yeah. Yeah. Feel that. Probably a little too close for home right here.
You just shot a snipe yesterday, didn't you, Harry?
Yeah. I mean,
It's not season
Why
one,
not?
is it?
We got turkey season starting this weekend, so
yep.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.
Yep.
All right, guys. We appreciate you guys listening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate you following. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe however you listen. We appreciate you guys coming on. And don't forget, if it makes you shake, don't wait, don't hesitate. Shoot that thing.